Hey guys, we're into the top 20 now of our top 50 games of the 7th generation. So here is the 20 to 11.
Number 20, Limbo.
Limbo is one of the most hauntingly beautiful games available. It's incredibly simple. There's no real story behind it, but it's just a fantastic puzzle-based game where you're happy to die over and over again in order to achieve your goal. There's no music, it's just black and white. It's so simple, but it is just beautiful, harrowing, an absolute joy to play.
Number 19, Portal 2.
Portal 2 just expanded on everything that made Portal great. It just ramped everything up to 10 in terms of scope, the amount of levels, the amount of puzzles. The story was fantastic as well, and some of the best voice acting.
Absolutely, yeah. Voice acting from Steve Merchant is just it's hilarious.
Yeah, it really is.
So funny. It's so charming. Isn't
it is. And even the return of GLaDOS, the mental robot.
Mental robot, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it's just a lot about this game that just brought me back. I mean, there's always ways, like in games like Hotline Miami, of just perfecting your run through and your times of doing the levels. It's just a great way of playing the game.
I've often had quite a lot of people say that, you know, they found Portal 2 to be the closest thing that they could compare to a religious experience.
Well, that's interesting.
And you know, from my time playing it, I would agree with that. There is this weird awakening that you have when you play a game which is just as simple and as nice to play as Portal 2 is. I mean, it is essentially just a puzzle game. You just need to get from A to B.
Here come the test results.
In the quickest way possible.
And yet they've made such an incredible story out of it as well.
Yeah. I mean, you have to forge your way through levels almost in a way that, you know, Mirror's Edge kind of brought to the table, which is kind of those kind of two melding into this superb puzzle system.
Absolutely.
Number 18, Journey.
One of the only games I think that you can play from start to finish in one go and then do it all over again. There's just a charm to this game that is unrivaled on any system, on any game. The way that you can just play with anyone around the world, you don't know who they are, you can't speak to them. The only way that you can interact with them is by pressing a button which enables a symbol to come up. You know, what there is of a story, it's just really charming. You basically on a pilgrimage, and the way that you just go through the levels by collecting segments of your scarf to make it easier for you through the level. I mean, as you see in the video now, the white robe is signals that you've finished the game, and you can go through the game entirely flying, which is, you know, it sounds kind of defeatist, but actually it adds another charm to it. It means that you can kind of explore sections of the level that you couldn't get to before. There's certain levels, including what can only be described as sharks. Even though it's not technically underwater, it kind of feels like it is. There are parts of this game that are just achingly beautiful, especially when you're sliding down a huge ravine of sand and the sun just kind of beams in on everywhere. It just kind of rivals the Uncharted 3 Sahara section. It is a beautiful, beautiful game, and one that you really need to experience.
Number 17, Bayonetta.
The one game that just never failed to impress level after level was Bayonetta. Every time you'd reach an end of level boss, it felt like it was the end of the game. The bosses just were enormous and so crazy from the first one that I genuinely was like, well, where the hell is this going to go next? And then the next boss came. You just couldn't second guess what was going to happen next.
It was the most consistently epic game I've ever played. There's no moment where you're just doing something mundane. So the most exciting stuff that happens in a game such as Devil May Cry is almost the most standard everyday moment in Bayonetta.
Good God, you are fighting on a clock face spinning around the world. I mean, how epic does that get?
it just managed to get that balance for things like, you know, it's sort of semi-religious in the sense that you've got, you know, the heaven and the angels and the hell and the demons, and you know, but instead of, you know, dwelling on that fact, it just kind of, it almost makes fun of it, and it becomes this incredibly incredible story. You know, there's just no two ways about this game. It is just buckets of fun.
Number 16, Far Cry 3.
What an experience Far Cry 3 is. It's kind of a whirlwind, really, and that's kind of crazy for an open world game, but it really is. The story is mental, a little bit, but you know what it makes up for is just an unbelievable villain in Vass. He's equally mental as he is kind of sane in a weird way, because he's kind of just trying to bring about this new order on this island, and you're kind of involved because everyone in your party's been kidnapped. And
yeah. I would say usually this kind of game is not for me. I don't have that much time to invest in really long games and stuff, but I wanted, and I did invest so much time in this game because there's so much to do.
Yeah, there is.
The actual environment itself is one of the best characters, I would argue, because even just going through and getting like individual collectibles, they each have been hidden in such a clever, inventive way that it's an absolute joy to discover how to reach new places.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the most interesting dynamics about the game is when you're on those kind of hallucinogenic sections.
Yeah.
It really brings a new kind of dynamic to the game. And I'm probably going to get the WWF onto my ass, but never has killing animals been more of a kind of feature of the game, you know, when you're trying to like get all the different kind of ammo stocks and different things like that.
Pouches and
yeah,
things
just
like that,
adds just so much to the game. It's just one of those games that just kept on giving.
Number 15, Forza Motorsport 4.
Arguably the best racing game on the old now generation.
Ever?
Yeah.
I'd say.
It's perhaps one of the best racing games ever. It is a brilliant simulation racer, but it's also oddly arcade in some ways.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. There's so much to do. It looks absolutely beautiful. And Forza 4 has one of the biggest event lists I've ever seen in a game. There's something like 150 different events to enter, and they take so long, but it's so fun to do.
Yeah, I've seen your clock count on this.
Yeah.
150 hours, is
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an obscene amount.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think you regret it at all.
No.
There's such a, so many things to do, so many events, so many different cars. It's just, one of the marvels that kind of Turn 10 achieved this in this game. I mean, like 3 was really, really good. But 4 just kind of took it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And, the integration of even like little things like Top Gear was just a nice little novelty item that just kind of got that extra sheen, I suppose.
The Auto Vista mode where you could walk around certain cars, opening doors with or without Connect, whilst Jeremy Clarkson talks about them. I mean, the cars looked better than any game ever. It's practically photorealism, and it's an absolute wonder to play.
Number 14, Super Mario Galaxy 2.
The direct sequel to Mario Galaxy, cleverly, with the name titled Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't think it'd be possible to improve on Galaxy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And somehow they did.
Yeah, I think that's why it's higher up on the list. Mario Galaxy did so much for the Wii and so much for gaming, but 2 just upped it that notch more.
Yeah, just the levels were bigger. The puzzles, when there were these odd little puzzles, were just slightly more intricate, I think. And just Yoshi being in it. You can't have a modern Mario game now without Yoshi. And I think that is the one thing that really was missing from Galaxy. So to have almost like the complete Nintendo cast or the complete Mario cast in this game was just really, really heartwarming and very, very welcomed.
It's the best Wii game by a country mile.
Hands down.
By a country mile.
And just one of the best games of this generation, obviously being this high up the list. It's just borderlining perfect.
We're mentioning a lot of bests, but it's also probably the best platformer ever.
I would say it is the best platformer ever. I would agree with you there.
Number 13, Skyrim.
Again, another exception, as Fable 2 was, is earlier when I said that I wasn't really into the whole Dungeons and Dragons kind of vibe game. There is something about the Elder Scrolls series that just continuously keeps people coming back. And Skyrim was just one of the best open world, if not the best open world game I think I've ever played, and probably likely will ever play. There's just so much in this game to do, and there's just so much to keep you going. And the fact of its setting and everything else around it is almost irrelevant, but it does add so much to that charm, and it kind of has made me want to go and revisit a lot of games that are like this sort of style that I've obviously just kind of written off because of their style, and I just cannot ever get enough of this game.
There is an absolutely ridiculous amount of content. Just being able to go exploring in different dungeons and caves and finding sort of the little secrets in the world. It's just, you don't get that sort of experience outside of an Elder Scrolls game.
No, definitely not. I mean, Oblivion was probably one of the best games I'd ever played at that point. Some of the problems that people had with Oblivion, they completely rectified with Skyrim. You know, Skyrim is just the open world game that everyone can pick up and play and not have a problem with. You know, the menu system was easy to access, the magic was easy to switch between, just everything was just so fluid and seamless that it just made everything about this game just so much fun. And of course it's got dragons in it. Any game with dragons has got to be awesome.
Number 12. Assassin's Creed 2.
The best Assassin's Creed game in the series, I would say.
By far, yeah.
It's just absolutely incredible. I really liked the first game, but there is just something about Assassin's Creed 2. They just made the map bigger, they made the settings better, they made more interactive and likeable characters.
Ezio is one of the best characters you would take control of in any game, I'd say.
Yeah, they just took the repetitiveness out of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
The story definitely reaches its peak here as well, whereas one sort of set it up and it was intriguing, but the gameplay just didn't hold up really. This one combines the much better gameplay with a much more mysterious, intriguing story.
Yeah, it does. And I do like the kind of sci-fi edge that they're kind of pointing towards in 2. And it's definitely an intriguing thing, as you say, but you know, it's the game that brought the kind of Assassins and Templars really to the peak of the story, and it made it really interesting. And like walking around like ancient Italy was a really, really good dynamic, I'd say. Especially when you're kind of as a young Ezio going around, it's just kind of fun to learn the mechanics, and you know, it's one of the Assassin's Creed games that kind of holds up in every mission, whereas like it kind of lost its way in Revelations, certainly in 3, but you know, it's a fantastic game and definitely worth checking out.
Number 11. Red Dead Redemption.
So narrowly missing out on the top 10, but it was a really close call, really.
Only just. Only just.
So close. Red Dead is absolutely amazing. You know, we've been talking about DLC quite a bit in this top 50, but Undead Nightmare is easily the best DLC.
One of the best experiences on consoles.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I mean, but the game itself, Red Dead, you know, it just brought everyone's fantasy to life, really. Like cowboys and the West into a game. Everyone was wanting it.
It's got one of the best atmospheres of a game.
Yeah.
At all. It's so immersive and realistic and just thoroughly immersive.
Yeah, and in typical Rockstar fashion, bringing a great story to the front and another great ending again.
I was going to say, yeah, the actual story itself, you know, I've known men weep at the end of this game. They've actively just said, I cried like a little baby at the end of this game.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's typical Rockstar with their captivating and emotive storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, I think as well, I love how it kind of drip feeds you into the areas and stuff as well. Because, like, you know, when Mexico becomes available and then you got the Northeast and, you know, everything kind of opens up then. And again, we were talking about animals in Far Cry, but, you know, the animals in this add another factor, you know, and you've got the bears and, you know, you can't really be on your edge unless you're kind of running away from a mountain lion at some points. And it's just A really, really, really good game. And it's the cowboy game that we've always wanted. His voice!
We're recording!
I might have to. Holy crap.
It's recording!
Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Shit.